Welcome to today's explainer. Have you ever hired a contractor who took your money and just ghosted you? Yeah, imagine that happening on a massive corporate scale. Today, we're diving deep into the internal controls and risk management of vendor management audits to make absolutely sure that never happens on your watch.
Here is our agenda for today. We'll be hitting objectives and key risks, controls and management process, procedures and focus areas, a transaction example, common red flags, and finally, the impact and takeaway. The master document for our audit explainer today is basically our blueprint. It gives us a completely holistic view of vendor management auditing, and we're going to use it to unpack exactly how to keep your vendor relationships healthy and, more importantly, risk-free. So, first things first, let's establish our foundation. A vendor management audit basically asks a simple question. Are we selecting and managing our vendors in a way that actually guarantees top quality, strict compliance, and true value for our money? Because the ultimate goal here is to build really strong partnerships while keeping our organizational risk as close to zero as humanly possible.
Part 1. Objectives and Key Risks. Let's jump in.
Our audit is essentially driven by 5 precise objectives. We need fair and transparent selection. Think about mandating 3 blind bids for a huge software purchase, right? We also have to enforce contract compliance, constantly evaluate the service quality, guarantee timely payments, and of course, continuously hunt for any control gaps in the vendor management process itself. Now, if we drop the ball on those objectives, we open the door to some pretty severe risks. On the operational side, this could mean poor quality goods or delayed deliveries that literally grind your business to a halt. Financially, it invites vendor fraud, favoritism, or those dreaded duplicate payments. And honestly, perhaps most critically today, weak vendor controls can lead straight to devastating data security and confidentiality breaches. No one wants that.
Part 2. Controls and Management Process.
So, how do we prevent those nightmares? Well, we rely on key controls. It all starts with solid due diligence and really tight contracts with crystal clear SLAs. But the true heavy lifters here? Segregation of duties, making sure the person who buys isn't the exact same person who pays, and the 3-way match, where we rigorously align the purchase order, the goods received note, and the invoice before a single dime ever leaves the company.
Let's actually walk chronologically through the first half of a typical vendor management process. Step 1 is need identification. This is where the business formally realizes they need something. Say, your IT department desperately needs new hardware. Step 2 is vendor search and pre-qualification to pinpoint the best potential partners. Step 3 is evaluation and selection, where we grade those vendors on price, quality, capability, and compliance. And then Step 4 brings us to contract finalization, locking in all those terms, SLAs, and pricing.
Continuing right along into Part 2 of the process, Step 5 is purchase and delivery. The order is placed and the goods finally arrive. Step 6 is invoice verification. That's where we meticulously execute that 3-way match we just talked about. Step 7 is payment, releasing the funds strictly according to our agreed terms. And finally, Step 8 is performance monitoring. Look, we don't just pay them and forget they exist, we track their value over the long haul to ensure ongoing excellence.
Part 3. Procedures and Focus Areas.
All right, when we actually get out into the field, these are our core audit procedures. We aren't just sitting around reading policies, we are verifying that rigorous background checks actually happened, we're physically performing the 3-way match testing ourselves, checking the accuracy of those payments, and actively hunting for any breakdowns in that segregation of duties we mentioned earlier. To execute those procedures effectively, we really have to focus our scrutiny across the entire vendor lifecycle. I mean, everything from their initial onboarding and pricing competitiveness right through to the daily quality of their goods and eventually to how safely they handle our sensitive data during exit management.
Part 4. Transaction example and red flags. Let's look at what success actually looks like in the real world with a vendor. Let's call them Tech Solutions Private Limited. Notice the timeline here. The purchase order goes out May 5th. The goods arrive May 8th with the goods received note, the invoice follows on the 10th for 1,25,000 rupees, and the NEFT payment is cleared on the 18th. The PO, GRN, and invoice match up perfectly. Honestly, this is a flawless, picture-perfect transaction.
But as auditors, we have to stay constantly vigilant for common red flags. Are you seeing the exact same vendor repeatedly winning contracts without any competitive bidding? Yeah, that's a massive warning sign. You also want to watch out for incomplete contracts, duplicate invoices, or, honestly, the cardinal sin,
payments being made before the delivery has even arrived.
Part 5. Impact and key takeaway. So what does this all mean? Why does all this rigorous auditing actually matter? Well, because it totally transforms the business. It guarantees true value for your money, elevates the quality of your services, drastically reduces your financial risks, and ultimately, it builds your vendors into reliable, long-term partners rather than just quick, temporary transaction points.
If you take away just one thought from today's explainer, let it be this quote from the master document. A strong vendor management process, supported by effective controls and regular monitoring, ensures the right vendor at the right price, with the right quality, and at the right time, while protecting the organization from risks and inefficiencies. And we'll wrap up with this pretty powerful equation. Effective vendor management equals lower risk, plus better quality, plus timely delivery, plus cost savings, plus strong compliance. So take a hard look at your own vendor files this week and ask yourself, are your vendors actually driving your business forward, or are they just a quiet liability waiting to happen? Thanks for hanging out with me on this explainer, and keep auditing with excellence.